Good evening, adventurers, and welcome back to the Maze. This is episode 10. I screwed that up last time, telling you it was episode 10. It was actually 9. But hey, the apprentice called me out on it, so
That's
hey,
all right.
yeah. The old brain isn't what it used to be, I guess. With me, as always, is the apprentice, Stephen,
Hello, hello.
my son and protege. We're going to get into some things tonight, so let's just jump right into it. Friday Night D&D 5e. We are back at the table. My normal group kind of hit a stone wall. We have basically taken a hiatus. There was some issues at our table. I don't know that those issues are going to get resolved, so we'll leave it at that for now, just to see if they do fix themselves or not. But I did get a call from a friend. He and his family wanted a Halloween two-shot themed game for Halloween to bring their 12-year-old son in. Shout out to Mason if you're watching. So we did a Halloween two shot. It was supposed to be a one shot, but I kind of extended a little bit, added some role play, a couple more of encounters. So we had a good time with it. We have recaps for session 1 and session 2 up over on the website. So if you would, please go over there, take a look at those. We will have the links for those in the description below. After that, let's talk about what's new on the Master of Mazes website. With Halloween in mind, it is the spooky season. I did go ahead and put up a Halloween themed monster, the Wendigo. Cryptid, spirit, monster, ghost, what is it? Who knows? I'll leave that up to your brains and your tables to decide. But we did do a write up on it. My personal involvement with it when I was first introduced to it when I was pretty young, how I read about it in fiction, and then I've got a 5e stat block up over at the website for you to take a look at. Use it at your own table. Let us know what you think about it. That description down in the link, down in the description as well. So you guys can take a look at it. Let us know what you think, please. We would love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
After that, the apprentice is busy over at the website. Stephen, what have you got going on over there?
Yeah, I wanted to, try my luck at a little short story here. Some of the stories in the past have kind of just become a little long in the tooth for me, and I'm very like ADHD, and I lose attention very easily. So I get an idea, and I'm like, oh, I want to do this idea, and then sometimes it's like, okay, I'm sick of that idea. I don't want to play with you anymore, and I drop the toy in the corner. But this one it's a much shorter to the point story. It's called A Crow and Nightstone. Part 1 and 2 are both up now. Um, as usual, I just kind of picked a town out of the blue. Nightstone seems like an interesting place. Um, and this character, obviously A Crow in Nightstone, is about a character named the Crow. He goes by the Crow, and he's kind of a rascal, scoundrel, rogue style character. And I'm trying to leave the ending a little bit ambiguous. I feel like for a lot of people that know a lot about D&D and certain things that can cause what's going on in the story might have a hint at what's going on. But it's a fun one. I'm having a lot of laughs, a lot of good times with it. So go check that out if that's your thing. Like I said, it's a lot shorter. It's I don't even know, a few
Definitely,
paragraphs.
definitely check it out.
It's
Definitely
it's
check
it's
it out
fun.
if you
I'm
haven't.
having a good time with it. I'm depending on my schedule. It's already the 19th, which is unbelievable to me. But I might be able to crank out another story after part 3 is done with this one. We'll see. So, but we're just having fun. And while I'm on that subject, I
Yeah.
did want to jump into our next topic here, which is a kind of taking Dad's inspiration. I wanted to throw in a Halloween themed monster as well. Dad's kind of going through the 31 days of Halloween and dropping a monster each day, which is a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that on Instagram, I believe the 15th monster we dropped an exclusive on the website. Um, but we're just doing like fun. We both love Halloween. I mean, this time of the year, for me personally, is my favorite time of the year. It's when the weather becomes a lot more acceptable for me to actually be outside of my house and enjoy my life again. So I've always had a fascination with like whites and like the ghosts, like these very powerful ghoulish ghosts and stuff. And I feel like I remember the only reason that the white sticks out to me, like the crypt white or something like that, it was a
The Borrow
picture.
White, maybe from Lord
Maybe
of the
maybe
Rings.
yeah. It was the
Yeah.
Borrow Whites from. It sucks that you didn't even really get to see him in Rings of Power, but whatever. They've always that ghost has always stuck with me, and I was like, I'll do one for Halloween. But like I said, Dad's had a whole series going on, and we have a huge Wendigo write up on the site as kind of a little exclusive tidbit of info there. So check those out. We put, I mean, not to be a self plug, but we put a lot of work into the site as well as the Instagram. So if you're into the Halloween theme as well and you want to see some cool stuff, bounce on over there and check that out.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Let's jump into some RPG news. For some of you old grognards out there, you may remember an old TTRPG called the Pendragon. Pendragon is back. There is a Kickstarter that will be running for the 40th anniversary. Pendragon came out in 1985. I remember playing it in the late 80s, early 90s. We probably played a pretty short campaign. I think we got in maybe 10 or 12 sessions before the game kind of dried up. Uh, but we had a great time with it. So Chaosium, who is coming up on their 50th anniversary, is going to be releasing a deluxe 2-box set. One of those box sets will have the original Pendragon art from the original box set on one of those boxes, and then the second box will have an updated art from another artist. But Jody Lee's art from the original box set will be on one of those 2 boxes, so check that out if you're a fan. That set is going to include a player's book, Gamemaster's book, a map of King Arthur's Britain, a few playing aids, and a pre-generated character sheets. So if you are into Arthurian legend or chivalry and swords, definitely something to look forward to. I'd say right now they're already 600. When I checked, this has been several days ago, they were almost 700% funded. So, I mean, this is a done deal. If you get in there and back now, I think there's 14 days left, maybe a little bit less than that at the time of this goes up. I would fund it. I've already gone in and jumped in and funded it, so I'm looking forward to getting that set and checking it out. But we'll have a link in the description below for you guys to take a look at it if you're interested. If you get it in time for the Kickstarter, maybe you can do the late funding and get you something. But check it out. Speaking of projects, there is Modiphus for their Fallout game. They have one coming out called New Norway Projekt, project with a K. This is going to basically be for their Achtung Cthulhu TTRPG. And what this is it's going to be a book basically set, as it sounds, in Norway for a Cthulhu-based game. So you'll have some new subclasses, some new classes, some new spells, some new creatures based on Scandinavian mythos. My only concern is I haven't been able to find out anywhere what the page count on this book is going to be. They do have a price point, which is $54.76. A little cheaper than a WotC or a Paizo book. But I mean, I want to know what I'm getting for $55. So maybe something to keep on your radar and check out. If you've seen a page count somewhere, or if you're more familiar with the project, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. After that, we've got one that I know the Apprentice is itching to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
He and I have talked about it at length. He got me so psyched up for it that I went online on YouTube and found a 90-minute lore dump on this subject, and I listened to it, and now I'm probably about as jazzed as he is for it. So, Steven, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, no, it's called Trench Crusade. If you haven't heard of it, you're probably like me and Dad. This is one of those games, and it's so rare that I feel like this anymore. But something will slip by me, and I'll catch somebody make a video. Shout out Braid Nation. He does a lot of 40K videos. And I just happened, I was watching one of his 40K videos. Shout out Blood Angels, best chapter in all Space Marines. And the video just went to the next one of the playlist, which somehow was a video about this game called Trench Crusade. And honestly, I was about to turn it off because I'm like, oh, this isn't 40K, blah, and was gonna move. And I saw the art, or like his thumbnail for the video, and it was it's the new Antioch, and it's like that giant. It's basically the 40K equivalent, or the Trench Crusade equivalent of like the Dreadnought, Space Marine Dreadnought. But the Trench Crusade mini, or like the character or troop that is the equivalent, is like this church mech thing. And I just saw the art and was like, okay, I have to stick around at least for a little bit and watch this. And ended up watching like an hour and a half of like just pure lore about this game. And I'm not gonna like completely nerd out here because I don't want this video to be an hour long, but I will say the lore is very much up there in terms of just how awesome it is with Warhammer. It's pretty much if the Crusades were happening and a portal to hell opened in the middle of the Crusades, and humanity has been fighting demons in hell ever since the Crusades, and the time period now is roughly World War I believe. So there is some World War One tech, but also, obviously because of this incursion from hell, like technology's kind of skewed, and it's just like this very dystopian, religious, gothic, like just I cannot like outside of the lore, the miniatures that are being made for this game are probably the best miniatures I personally have ever seen as far as detail and just. I mean, whoever's in charge of this game and working on the minis is just. They have their vision and they're nailing it. And I would just suggest, if you haven't heard of this, if you're a lore nerd like me, just go to their website and they have a bunch of lore already baked into the site. And if any of it interests you, even if you don't plan on buying minis, just go look at them. Go look at them because they are. Even if you don't plan on playing the game, having one of those church mech guys or some of the demons are so cool.
Yeah,
I gotta
just
look at
have it on your shelf.
because it's like an absolute like people are gonna see that and go, dude, what is that? Like what is that character?
All of you are saying right now, what is he talking about?
I'll have pictures.
I will make sure the Apprentice.
Yeah, I'll have pictures.
For you guys to see it.
Yeah, I want to find the name of them, but I won't linger on it too much. But like the character, like just the way that they just have such a cool art style, and when you see it, it's like it's going to be so distinct when these drop that it is a Trench Crusade mini. Like there's not going to be any confusing it between any other IP.
It's kind of a blend to me when I first saw it, and then I started doing that lore dump video.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Warhammer 40K kind of meets Morkborg World War One,
right?
Meets Duo meets Doom, and it's like somebody takes all the best elements of all of those genres and blends them together, and they came up with. It looks amazing to me, so I'm pretty excited about picking up some of the books and just for no other reason than to have the art and just read through them, because I think it's a really cool idea that what Steven's talking about is basically the mummified remains of a saint is basically placed into like these giant war machines, which are also considered churches and holy ground. So you can have ceremonies and stuff inside or around these things, and they go out on the battlefield.
Yeah, so they're called. I found it on the site.
Give it a look. We'll have a link for that down in the show notes as well.
Yeah,
definitely give it a look because it looks like it's going to be. I don't know how it hasn't been on our radar, but
yeah, I found it on the website. It's called an Anchorite Shrine, and it's just a giant like church mech with like a steeple helm on it, and it just the style is so sick. So anyway, we'll have pictures. If you haven't heard of it, like somehow like I haven't, which I can't believe, we'll have pictures and links for you to check it out.
We'll have pictures. So let's jump into our Kickstarter shout out. Our friends over at the Old Warlock, Jim and Alex, I watched them religiously, and they did a shout out on their most recent video this past week for a creator by the name of Robbie Howell. Robbie is the mastermind behind a game called Enclave. Jim and Alex have talked about the game Enclave before, but in their most recent video, they talked about a Kickstarter that Robbie's launching called Enclave Aspirant, where he's going to add some more subclasses, some more items, kind of expand on the Enclave universe for people to play. For those who aren't familiar with Enclave, it is a diceless role-playing game. So it's basically all narrative-driven, and that narrative is done jointly by the storyteller and then by the players at the table. So I basically watched a video of Jim and Alex play this game for a little over an hour, and I'll have a link for that in the show notes for you if you want to check that video out, where Robbie and they got together and told a story. The Enclave is this like secret society that uses time travel, where they will basically pluck heroes and warriors from different genres and different timelines and bring them together and then have them go and do missions for them. The one that I watched with Jim and Alex was Jim was a Old West gunslinger, and Alex was a kind of a medieval warrior. So it was a pretty cool blend of kind of mix and matching different types of game genres and bringing them together into one game, and then watching them play this game without any dice. I was kind of skeptical, I'll be honest, going into it, watching it, thinking, how do you play a game without dice? But they did it, and it's amazing, and I'm kind of interested to check out Enclave now. So we'll have a link for the Kickstarter and for Enclave in the show notes. and we'll have that video with Jim and Alex from the old Warlock in it as well. So shout
How,
out to those guys.
just out of curiosity, how does the combat work?
So the combat, basically, it's all descriptive. So basically, the storyteller will tell you what's happening. He'll kind of paint the scene. In this instance, they were raiding a barrow. So they went into a barrow mound and they were looking for pottery, which this specific tribe uses as kind of a monetary system. And they were basically to go and rob this mound, steal from one tribe, and then deliver that pottery to another tribe to basically elevate their position in the hierarchy. So the way they painted it was Robbie would basically tell them what was going on. Hey, these creatures, these undead, are basically crawling out of their burials, out of their burial sites. This is what they're doing. This is how many you see. What would you like to do? And then Jim and Alex would tell them what they wanted to do, and it kind of flowed pretty easily. And just based on the situation, how the story was going, kind of depended on how easy or how difficult something might be. But it actually played really well, and I was surprised how smoothly and quickly everything went. So
Cool.
definitely something to check out if you guys want to do something that's narrative based. It involves story coming from the players as much as the game master, and it doesn't use dice, so you don't slow things down. So give it a check, give it a look. Um, we won't talk about what's going on new over at our Instagram account, Master of Mazes. Stephen already kind of brought us in a little bit earlier talking about the 31 days of Halloween. So this entire month I've been doing every day, and I've got to do one for tonight. They've got a 31 days of Halloween D&D theme. So I post up a monster, talk about that monster, creature, ghost, whatever. Put up a couple pictures of art that I enjoy for that particular creature, and then give you a stat block or point you towards the website. Wendigo was part of that, but since I did a much bigger deep dive on that with lore and a full stat block, that did go up on the website, so check that out. But I just basically a way of engaging people and kind of jumping into the holiday season. Like Steven, I'm a big fan of Halloween and the fall because I can get outside and it's not as hot. I love Halloween and trick-or-treating. I love sitting out on my porch dressed up in a costume handing out candy. So this is kind of my way of spreading that holiday cheer on Instagram and sharing with everybody.
Any way we can get a sneak peek of what today or tonight's monster is going to be on the podcast?
So yesterday was the Beholder,
Right.
which that is a terrifying aberration. Today's creature is going to be the Aboleth, which is a horrifying creature. If you know anything about the lore of the Aboleth,
I don't think I've ever heard of
these
that.
creatures, they were around before the gods were. They are the oldest race on Faerun, and they basically, the thing that terrifies me the most about them is they have hereditary knowledge. When an Aboleth is born, it has the knowledge of all of the Aboleths that came before it. So just think about that as far as a BBEG goes and how terrifying that would be.
They look awful.
Yeah, they are terrible. And I'm going to have that as my Halloween creature for tonight. So look for that on Instagram. We'll have the link for our account down there if you guys want to check it out in the show notes. After that, we're going to talk about some video games. It would not be the Master of Mazes without talking about some video games.
Yep.
And as always, the Apprentice is brimming with enthusiasm to talk about these two items. So, Steve,
Yeah. So I'll start with the bigger one first. Obviously, most people on the internet know that Battlefield 6 is out. Battlefield is it used to be a juggernaut in terms of just how big those games were. They own the market share. I think a lot of people, we don't like to get into our certain opinions here, but I will say it seemed like Call of Duty was always a younger kids game and Battlefield was for older folks, just for the people, me and people that I grew up with playing, all kind of migrated to Battlefield. And I just remember Battlefield 3 being incredible, and then I remember the PS4 dropping and you and me getting Battlefield 4 on the same day.
Yeah.
And I remember playing that game and was like, it just felt like the next step in the shooter genre in terms of video games. It was just like, that felt like, oh, this is absolutely an evolution of the game.
Yeah.
And not just the Battlefield game, I mean shooters in general.
Right.
And then, there's been some missteps since then. There was Battlefield Hardline, which was like cops and robbers, like whatever. And then Battlefield 1 was kind of a little bit of a return to grace there. And then I think 5 and 2042 were missteps, and I think a lot of people feel the same way. So Battlefield 6 is out. I've played roughly a couple hours with some of my friends, and I would say it's definitely a return to form.
Okay.
I don't think it's as good as 4. However, it's still a brand new game, and it can only go up from here. So I think
Right.
in 6 months to a year time, this will absolutely be a game that people talk about in the same conversation as 3 and 4, which
Okay.
in this day and age, that's a big deal because a lot of games are not in that conversation and never will be. So
All right.
I think it's off to a good start. I mean, obviously Steam doesn't lie; everyone's playing it. Um, but I did want to carve out a little time here to talk about a smaller game that I only really heard about from my friend Christian, who's an MMO player, and
Mhm.
he shouted out this game called Fellowship. And if you're anything like me, you've never heard of it. And I checked it out on Steam, and I ended up buying it because it's only $20. And basically, it boils down the MMO formula to getting rid of all of the just monotonous leveling that's in every MMO. It seems like they just can't get away from. I don't know of a single MMO that has a fun leveling experience. Most of it is like,
Mhm.
I mean, I can tell you myself how many times I've gone to play an MMO with a friend, and they're like, "Oh, dude, the first 100 hours are so boring, but it gets really good at the end." And it's like,
Right.
for somebody like me who only has like maybe 10 hours a week to play games anymore, maybe. I mean, that's like on a good week.
I was
It's
gonna say, when's the last time that happened?
I don't know, but it's really hard to like convince someone like me to just push yourself through the marsh that is leveling 100 hours to
Right.
then get to a dungeon and then still be behind because all of your friends are on the 20th dungeon and they have all the good shit and bisque gear and
Mhm.
everything. So this game boils all that crap away, and it is literally turn on the game, pick a character, and start playing dungeons with your friends. And all of the dungeons are basically procedural, so every time you join, it's different monsters, different bosses, different loot. As far as I can tell, even if you're really high level, you can play with your friends, and the content will sync to the character level. So if your buddy
Right.
plays a bunch and you just started, you can still play together. You're not content locked just because you have a job.
Right.
Like me, sometimes I feel like I play a game and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I have a debuff and it's called being 31 and I can't do the cool shit, you know. And so this game seemed, and it was made by when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this just looks like World of Warcraft, like 100%. And there's a good reason for it. A lot of the people that were working on this game were ex Blizzard devs that are older folks, and they're like, dude, I mean, the game is just unreachable for a lot of people that have other things going on in their life.
Yeah.
And they made a game that's just instantly into dungeons, and that's 99% of what people play MMOs for. Some of it's
Yeah.
exploration, and I will say, I do like exploring and doing side quests if they're entertaining.
Hmm.
This game does have little side objectives, and there is some exploration in the dungeons. The dungeons are fairly large. They do some of them require you to have a mount, because I saw that there were mounts in the game, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Like people are just going to be flaunting like a rare mount in the camp and then never use it
Yeah.
again. But some of the dungeons are so big that you need a horse or whatever mount you get to get around in it. So there is some exploration. There's some strategy and some different routes to take, and there's a lot going on there. So like I said, it's $20. I'd recommend if anybody out there feels like me, where it's like I love the idea of the Holy Trinity, tank, healer, DPS, kind of the slower paced strategy of
Right.
an MMO. I mean, a lot of the fun of an MMO. I still remember raiding um, like Blackwing Lair and stuff back in classic WoW, like not classic WoW now, like the original WoW, where like
Right.
players had to play their role perfectly, and you'd fight a boss, and even if you did it well, it took 20 minutes. And in a, for me, that's fun. I mean, I know nowadays everything is like fast paced. If you're not Call of Duty, the young kids don't care. This game is
Right.
absolutely made for older guys that are used to playing these MMOs and strategically building a team around. Okay, this guy's playing this healer who's like a burst healer, so I can play more aggressive and do this thing. And
Right.
so, anyways, it is a $20 game. I think it's worth supporting. This is their first game. From the sounds of it, it's probably their only game or one of a few. So they're very devoted to this game. They're very open with feedback and wanting to get the community's info and kind of their experience in the
Input.
game.
Yeah.
And so I love that. I love this, and that's kind of what makes me such a nerd about Kickstarter. I love when a development team is still kind of they have their ear to the ground as in terms of the
Right.
audience, and like when you can play something, whether it's a TTRPG or a game or anything, and you can get in early enough where your voice kind of shapes a living, breathing thing, and you can look back on that 10 years from now and go, oh, dude, the reason that Kickstarter where I made, like, I told them to make that change, and now it's in the game.
Right.
So a lot of these Kickstarters we're talking about and games like Fellowship that we're talking about, the time is not, a year from now and waiting on the bandwagon to get here. The time is today when your voice isn't going
Right.
to be drowned out by 1,000 other people. The time
Right.
is right. Like you can form, and this is not Fellowship's obviously what I'm talking about now, but I mean the Enclave Aspirant, this other
Anything. Yeah.
Kickstarter, anything that you're passionate about. Don't wait for someone on Instagram or Twitter to tell you that you should do it. If you look at it
Yeah.
and it looks fun to you, support it now, because that's
Yeah.
again, I'm like we keep saying, that's why this project continues. Me and Dad do this in our free time, free of charge, because we believe in the message that these things matter. Just because it's not a massive, huge game or huge Kickstarter, that doesn't mean it's not worthy of your time. Get in there, get
Right.
in the trench with everybody else, and have your voices heard. If it costs you $5, then it costs you $5.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth it
Yeah.
to do these things and
Absolutely.
get it on the ground level, especially if it's something that people care about and people are putting their heart and soul into it, and it's not
Yeah.
some like AI slop. These are real people working really really hard. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. So we're going to go into some closing questions.
hmm
I think it will be fueled by the fact that Steven sent me a text message earlier today,
hmm
and he's like, "Hey, did you see this?" And I'm like, "I did not, but that's
Ki-
an interesting subject."
yeah, and I'll go into it. But I
Yeah.
wanted to ask. So, can you clarify? Well, either way, they're putting some new spells into D&D, and I'm assuming it means they're
Right.
putting it in, and it's going to be canon, and it's going to be like in the rule book or handbook
Right.
whenever the
Right.
next edition drops.
So,
Can
so
you
what Stephen,
elaborate
what
on the
Stephen's
spells?
Yeah, so what Stephen is speaking about is the new 2024 Faerun Forgotten Realms Player's Handbook, which is coming out not too far from now. There are some new spells in it. Some of those spells are going to basically take advantage of the circle casting ability, which I guess they're adding to 2024, where you can have multiple people get together and cast one spell together. And basically, the one person is the primary caster, the rest are basically part of the casting circle. And what they're doing is they're expending spell slots to empower that spell,
That's
either
kind
to
of
extend
cool.
the range. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but the problem is as a DM, you kind of have to watch spells, spell abilities, things like that, to make sure that they don't become game breaking.
hmm
One of the things about these two spells in particular was that if you upcast and everybody who's in the circle expends a third level spell slot, you could extend the range up to a mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of insane.
I don't mind spells that have a mile range or something like that if it's like a communication spell, if it's a summon spell, something like that. But when you have a damage spell where you can extend the range to a mile, that to me is kind of game breaking, because at a mile, one, can you even see your target? Two, your target can't see you, so there's no defense against a spell coming from a caster a mile away. Um, so not a big fan of it. I can see why they put it in there. It is neat. The lore, just a little write up that was in the article, which we will post that article link down in the description in the show notes. You guys can tell us what your thoughts are. Not big fan. Um, I would be very careful of allowing them at my table, because of the fact that they have the potential to be abused by players and by DMs. Um, but for me personally, there are some spells I just don't allow in the game. I don't like silvery barbs. It's enough to force a reroll, which is clutch when it's a bonus action or it's a reaction, and you can force a creature that lands a critical hit. I'm going to hit him with silvery barbs. Now he has to reroll. Okay, well maybe that critical hit is missed. That's clutch. My problem with silvery barbs is not only does it force a reroll on a creature, but it also grants advantage on the next roll for somebody that you give it to. So I could say, Steven is the DM. He decides his creature is going to throw. He's going to hit me with his sword. He hits my friend. He gets a critical hit. I'm like, nope. I'm going to cancel that with silvery barbs. Re-roll. Oh, you rolled a two. Too bad, so sad. That to me is more than enough for a spell. But then for me to say, okay, not only do I cancel out your critical roll, but now I'm going to give my friend advantage on his attack on you, that's a lot for what you get for that level of spell. And I think it's broken, so I don't allow it at my table. During session zero, I go through things, and silvery barbs is not allowed at my table. It's just not. Because I tell my players, if you use it, I'm going to use it against you, and trust me, you're not going to like it when I start canceling your spells and your critical hits, and you guys start cheering at the table. Oh, sorry, silvery barbs. And
Yeah.
now I'm going to grant myself advantage on my next attack against you. Oh, I just rolled a nat 20. You know, it's a little much, so I don't allow them. But you know, to each table their own.
There's a saying in Blizzard games where they nerf something fun, but that I don't feel like it's nerfing something fun when you're nerfing a spell that's like clearly broken. And if it's
Right.
a player does something and you're like, "Oops, just kidding." That's almost like the meme is, "Oh, fun detected, delete," And it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
20? Nope." And it's like, "Oh, well,
Well,
what the
you
hell?"
know, in my game Friday night, the characters got down to the BBEG's lair, and our little pyromaniac wizard decided to throw a fireball. That's what he leads with. He throws a fireball. So the BBEG counterspelled. Well, he counterspelled the counterspell, and he won. Um, Counterspell to me is not as broken as Silvery Barbs. I like it. I like that you can counterspell a counterspell. So he managed to counterspell the counterspell, which allowed the fireball to go off, which was kind of a big deal at the time. And, you know, for a kid to pull off something like that that's clutch really kind of made his night. So totally okay with counterspell. But, you know, there are some things I'm very careful with at the table. Wish is another one that can really break a game if you're not careful with it. So I like to take things like that are super powerful, and there are repercussions. You know, if you wish, you age a little bit when it happens, and there you have to be very careful with how you word the wish. So I will use your wording against you if you're not careful. I'll take it very literally. I play it like a deal with a crossroads demon. If you don't word it carefully, I'm going to pick it apart. I'll find a way to turn it against you. So yeah. That way, my players are pretty honest. So when they use it, it's desperate, and when it's desperate, you know, it's pretty clear cut. Yeah, I just want to bring this character back to life. Okay, sure, we got you. So, that's my thoughts on it. I mean, you guys tell us what you think in the comments below. We'll have a link for the article in the show notes, so you guys can read it. Tell us what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Am I wrong? Am I way off base? Am I onto something? Let me know. I'd love to hear from you.
My last thing I wanted to say is, off kind of a spin off of that question or that combo there is there a spell that you wish was in the game? Which for you, I mean, you kind of homebrew anyways. So if there's a spell you really want in the game, you probably already have it. But
Right.
we could kind of turn this question in that case into, a spell that's non-canon, that's not in the official handbook. Is there one that you wish was official?
Um,
That would
I mean,
like
there's quite a few. There's quite a few to be honest.
Well, let's think of
Cobalt Press.
like ones that would like really kind of like quality of life. Like, man, this is really annoying. It's not official.
I mean, there is one. I know we had a DM that was really good when we played Pathfinder about allowing us to kind of homebrew our own spells. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we would tell him how we wanted a spell to work, and then he would tell us whether or not we could make it work that way, and then we could make our own spells.
Mm-hmm.
And my character Anatar he was a necromancer, but he developed some of his own spells, and of course he named them after himself, as any self-respecting wizard would. And I basically enhanced some spells, took spells that I thought had issues, and corrected them, or just made my own spells. I'm also really big about at my table if you can show me a source from another game, Call of Cthulhu, Vicen, uh, Pendragon, whatever, Shadowrun. If you come up with something that's arcane in nature and you want to use it and introduce it into the game, if we can sit down together and talk about it and come up with a way that's agreeable to both of us for it to work, I'm going to allow it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my personal favorite to bring into a game when I play is there's one, I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's from Cobalt Press's Arcane Spell Cards for the Wizard. And one of them was basically this tower. And unlike Liam's tiny hut, which you could just basically call in like a force bubble, and you could all hide out in it and make it whatever temperature you want, camouflage it so that it was hidden against the background or whatever. This one was actually one where you could call in a two-story tower, and you could basically make it out of whatever material you wanted. Your spell component was the material that you would carry. So my character always carried a piece of obsidian. So he would, it goes with the whole necromancer theme, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he would call into every night. He would cast this spell, which was a third level spell, and he would basically summon a tower, 2 stories, and it was made of obsidian. And then you could design it however you wanted. When you brought it into existence, you told the DM, I want one level to be X and I want one level to be Y. So I would always have one level would be like a place to eat and have a fireplace so you could relax. And then the second floor was always like bedding, so
Mm-hmm.
people could go to sleep. But you could basically get in there. It would only have the one door. You could trap the door, stage a guard, post familiars on top to watch out for creatures and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that one in D&D as
Yeah,
a canon
that's
spell.
sick. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, I'll post the name of the spell and a link to it in the show notes below for you guys if you want to take a look at it. Sorry, I can't remember what the exact name of it is off the top of
mm.
my head, but
Yeah, I like stuff like that. I mean, I'm not as well versed to comment on this as you are, but I will say I feel like sometimes one of the most daunting things as a new player to come into
mhm,
D&D is you feel like you don't know enough to ask questions. So like
right.
when you're like, man, I wish like I want to summon a companion like a familiar.
Mhm,
Can that familiar be a like a spectral bear or something? And like maybe that's not traditional, but like some people for them that would add a lot of flavor for their character how they want to play
right,
it. And it's like I
right.
think it's more a DM is a lot of things. I mean, it's a hard job number one, but most people see a DM as like kind of a rule keeper, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do it. It says right here, and I think maybe that's some DMs, but I think a good DM is basically letting the players just kind of run free and forming
Mhm,
a world around them with rules that are kind of orchestrating a narrative, but
right.
never obstructing the narrative. Where it's like a
Totally.
player gets removed from the story because they're like, well, I can't do this thing because this guy says I can't. So
Right.
like it's a hard job to like ebb and flow in and out of like, well, hang on, like let's not do that because of this thing versus just kind of letting a player add their own flavor and like role play themselves. You know, like that's kind of what it's
Uh,
all about.
very well said. And it kind of mirrors what Gary Gygax said. If you go back and read first edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide,
Mm-hmm.
Gary says in there very clearly, this is meant to be a framework.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, they're not laws carved in stone.
It's role playing
Use the
for a
rules.
reason. Yeah, it's role playing
Yeah,
for a reason.
use the rules. Don't use the rules. Bend the rules. Rewrite the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to do, or just take the book and toss it in a garbage can.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. It's your table. You run it the way you want.
Right.
I have found the way you are going to get the most return as a DM at the table is by allowing your players to basically paint the story more so than you do.
Mm-hmm.
Give them some free reign with restraint, obviously, um, but allow them to do things like your example with the I want a really cool bear for my fine familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see this working?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you come up with a plan and then I can agree so that it doesn't break the spell fine familiar, well, if he got a bear, well, I want a tiger. Well, if
Right.
he got a tiger, I want a small dragon. No, okay, now we're getting out of control. The I would say, hey, if you want a bear, that's fine. Let's make it a bear. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's a small bear, like it's a pygmy bear.
Right.
Okay, and it comes from the Feywild, so it's still in keeping with the rules for a familiar. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have 100 hit points. It doesn't have an armor class of, you know, 18.
Right.
It's still easily killable, but it can help you.
Yeah.
It can perform the help action. It can distract an enemy, giving you
Mm-hmm.
advantage. That creature can watch over you at night while you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That creature can go ahead of you into the woods and scout. Okay, I don't have a problem with it being a bear. I don't have a problem with it if you want to say I call in a phase spirit and it looks like a miniature Tiamat. That's
Yeah.
fine, so long as we agree that it's not going to have Tiamat stats. Then
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
perfectly okay with it.
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
like.
I let my players flavor their stuff all the time. Like when they cast spirit guardians, what do your spirit guardians look like?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody shouldn't look the same. My Autumn, the Mistress of Mazes, she plays a war cleric of Tiamat. When she does her spirit guardians, it looks like the 5 different chromatic dragons
Mm-hmm.
in miniature flying around her, attacking her enemies. Last night when we played, or Friday night when we played, Sarah, who's played by Mandy, she's a cleric of the grave, and her spirit guardians are little skeletal looking ravens that fly
Mm-hmm.
around her with red glowing eyes. Okay,
Yeah.
it's flavored any way you want. It's still the mechanics work the same, but you can change the aesthetics to look like anything you want.
Yeah. I think that added like flair just means a lot, and it means a lot more to the player than it does to anybody else. But that's kind of the whole point. And I think this is kind of going off topic, but kind of still in there is like the DMs in my opinion, the good DM's job is to act almost like a shepherd, right? Where it's like
Right.
he's steering you away from the cliffs, and he's kind of showing you, oh, this is the general direction you want to be going in, but not really standing over you and kind of like, just being a rule drill sergeant saying this is exactly how to play. So anyway,
Right.
that's cool. I mean, I'm that's a cool spell that you brought up. So like you said, we'll put that info in the notes there so people can check
Yeah.
that out. Because I didn't even know that was like a class of spell. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, I pick up all the time card sets and books for other games and look for things that I can add to my game. Because some players, you get them at your table, if they've played 5 years or more, they know all the spells, they know all the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when I'm on Kickstarter, I'm looking for new spells, I'm looking for new monsters, I'm looking for new subclasses, things like that that I can add to the game to give us more to play with and new things to experiment with and try out
Mm-hmm.
and see how they work at the table. So yeah, we'll definitely have that link, and I'll actually post a link for the spell card set in there as well, so in case you guys are interested.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's all we have for this week. We
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you guys tuning in as always. We appreciate your continued support. If you're not already a subscriber, we ask that if you like the content and we're not talking your ear off, please subscribe. Give us a like on this video and click that little bell so you'll get notifications whenever we post new things.
Mm-hmm.
We just posted up a short video yesterday as well
Mm-hmm.
with our build from Friday night on there, so you can take a quick look at that. That
Very
was
cool.
courtesy of Dwarven Forge and Emberwood Forge.
Mm-hmm.
They gave us the terrain pieces for that, so check that out. And please share this website with your friends. Let them know that we're out here on YouTube. Let them know about our webpage, our Instagram. We'd love to get more people in here,
Mm-hmm.
get some more engagement, and just talk to some other like-minded players. So,
Yep.
what it's all about is community.
Yep.
So with that, we will leave you guys to the rest of your evening. You have a wonderful night, and we will see you again shortly in the maze.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.